Good morning, everyone. It's Rabbi Akiva Males. Today is Friday. It's January 29th. We're getting ready for Parshas Beshalach. It's also known as Shabbos Shira. The reason why we call it Shabbos Shira is because this is the Shabbos where we find Shiras Hayam, we find Oz Yashir, that after Kriyas Yamsuf, after the sea splits at Yetzias Mitzrayim, Bnei Yisrael spontaneously sings this beautiful song of appreciation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's immediately followed by Shiras Miriam, where she leads the ladies in song as well. There's a minhag you'll find, a long-standing ancient minhag, ancient custom that Klal Yisrael has, that Shabbos Shira, we somehow or another give a treat to the birds, not just to birds that we might own if someone has a pet bird in a cage, but birds that are out there in the wild. And you'll find in different locales at different points in Jewish history, there were different items. We're all familiar with sharing breadcrumbs or something with birds, but you'll find that there were parts that shared kasha's bulgur, I guess whatever was prevalent at that part. There's other places that said chitim, they put out wheat for birds, whatever could be good bird feed. And the question is, how did this minhag develop? What is it based on, and why is it connected with Parshas Beshalach, Shabbos Shira? So I find if you look through the sources, you'll pretty much find that there are two explanations given for this minhag. One reason is, I saw the Aruch HaShulchan brings this one down, there's a Masorah we have there. We have a tradition that the birds also sang Shira, that at the time of Kriyas Yamsuf and Klal Yisrael was singing this beautiful song to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it was enhanced by all the songbirds in the area, that the birds of the world who saw this started to chime in and to chirp and to enhance the Shira that Klal Yisrael was singing with this beautiful sound of all the birds singing at the same time. So as a way to be makir tov, to say thank you to the birds who added, they brought something more to the Shira than we could have done ourselves. We're being makir tov, we're showing our appreciation, sharing a treat with them. Another idea that you'll find is linked closely to Parshas Beshalach as well. And let me share this one with you. I've seen this, some of the Sfarim that talk about Minhagim bring this one down, specifically a sefer called Otzer called Minhagei Yeshurun. They tie this, excuse me, to Perek Tez Zayin. Chapter 16, you'll find in this week's laning, when Moshe Rabbeinu is describing to Klal Yisrael what to do with this man that is just falling, this heavenly bread that's appearing for the first time in this week's parsha. So Klal Yisrael encounters it on Shabbos. And the pasuk tells us, it's pasuk Chaf Hei and Perek Tez Zayin. Vayomer Moshe echlu hayom. So Moshe told everyone they received a double portion on Friday. They didn't understand this because they hadn't gotten that during the week. He told them, make sure to eat it on Shabbos. Ki Shabbos hayom lashem hayom lo timtzeu basada. Today you're not going to find any man out in the field. Sheshes yamim tel ketuv. For 6 days, man will fall and you should collect it. Vayom ashvi Shabbos lo yebo. On the 7th day, which is Shabbos, you're not going to find any man. It's not going to fall. Next pasuk, Chav Zayin 27. Vahi beyom hashvi'i. So it was on the 7th day. Yatzu min ha'am lilkot. Some members of Klal Yisrael went out to try and find man. V'lo matzo, and they did not find any. So on this, the Sfarim bring down, I want to read it to you. It's a beautiful medrash that they quote. So they ask the following question. What does it mean that people went out v'lo matzu, and they went out to look for it and they couldn't find it, which seems to imply it was there, but they couldn't find it. That's not what the pasuk should have said. The pasuk should have said they went out to look for man. There was no man there because no man fell down. So he says, So the Medrash says that Dasan and Aviram, these two nemesis who had caused so much sorrows for Moshe and Aaron in the Midbar, what did they do? Leil Shabbos, on Friday night, they went out with some of the man, because remember, everyone had received a double portion on Friday, that they were supposed to eat the second portion on Shabbos. So they went out with some of their Shabbos serving. And what did they do with it? They spread it out in parts of the wilderness, because what did they want to do? They wanted to show everyone Shabbos morning. Look, this Moshe doesn't know what he's talking about. He said no man's going to fall on Shabbos. And look, lo and behold, here's a small part, the man fell. Kidei lasos dvar shel Moshe plaster. They wanted to make Moshe look like a fool. Shomer sheviyam hashvi lo yebo. Moshe said there's not going to be any man on Shabbos. V'amru elam su'uru shenimsa man al pnei asada. Go out and look. We found one small section. How much could there have been? Two people, Dasan and Aviram, went and put some of their man out there. So it's not an incredible amount. But they said, look, Moshe doesn't know what he's talking about. True, 99% of the area no man fell, but we found one little area where man fell. Bial Cain, and what happened? Yatsu min lilkot. So they riled people up, and people went out to look to see, is it true? Or doesn't Aviram right? Did some man actually fall in one section? They went around and they searched. They could not find it, what Dasan and Aviram had placed out there, because the birds went and ate that man before people could come out and look for it. So the birds, so to say, saved Moshe's dignity. Because Dasan and Aviram wanted to make him look like a fool, the birds saved his dignity. Therefore, we pay back the birds. We do this on Shabbos Shira, where it's Parshas Beshalach, and that's where we read about the first falling of the man and this episode that the Medrash is linking to. So these are two reasons for how this minhag developed, why we provide some food for birds that we don't own and on Shabbos. Now, again, if we want to cover all our halachic bases, the commentators all say it's best to put out those crumbs or wheat, whatever we're going to do before Shabbos, because we won't run into any Shabbos issues about feeding birds and animals that we don't own, and the responsibility to feed them may not be upon us. So if we want to cover all our bases, it's best to do that before Shabbos, to put it out. There are sources that justify and come up with ways to say why it would be okay to do this on Shabbos as well. But again, if we want to cover all our bases, best to do that before Shabbos. Beautiful minhag, two reasons for it. But there's an obvious question. The birds we're feeding today in 2021, or the birds our ancestors fed 100 years ago, how's that hakaras hatov? How's that showing our appreciation to the birds for what they did for Moshe Rabbeinu, or how they sang Shira? These aren't the same birds. No one's going to say these birds are thousands of years old. And even if they lived thousands of years, are these the same birds that were around in the Midbar at that part of the world? Come on, these aren't. So what does that mean? It's hakaras hatov. So I think it's very clear, and I saw some sources bring this down as well. This exercise in hakaras hatov is not to the birds. We're not saying to those birds, you sang Shira, you saved Moshe Rabbeinu's dignity. It was their great ancestors. So what's this hakaras hatov? The idea is to go through this exercise to teach us that we need to express our appreciation. True, these might not be the recipients who really deserve that appreciation. It was their kind, it was their species, their great ancestors, distant cousins, whoever what it wasn't them. But this minhag developed because our ancestors realized hakaras hatov does not come naturally. It's just not the way we're hardwired as human beings, to go up to people, go up to others and say, we really appreciate what you did for us and we want to express our thank you. It's just not the way we're hardwired. So to get us into that mentality and to try to break through and make this part and parcel of who we are, our ancestors instituted this beautiful minhag. Let's show our hakaras hatov to those birds, even though these aren't the same birds. But when we go through this exercise, this will bring hakaras hatov, the midah of appreciation, into our lives. And hopefully we'll be able to say to ourselves, if I'm showing hakaras hatov to birds, and these aren't the same birds, these aren't the descendants of distant cousins, different part of the world, but if I'm showing hakaras hatov to them, how much more so? Kol shekain, do I need to show hakaras hatov to my spouse? How much do I have to show appreciation to my neighbor, to my teacher, to my student, whoever it is that I'm relating to? We have a lot of people in our lives that we need to say thank you to. Our parents, who knows? We need to say thank you. We need to express our hakaras hatov, and we just don't do it often enough. It's part of the human condition. So our ancestors instituted this minhag on Shabbos Shira, express hakaras hatov to birds. And hopefully, what will that cause? That will cause the ball to start get rolling. It'll get that ball rolling, and we'll start to bring more hakaras hatov into our lives. We'll show our appreciation to others. We'll express our appreciation to others. And if we do that, not only will our world be such a happier place and our relationships will be enhanced, but that will give so much more power, that will give so much more meaning to this beautiful minhag, this beautiful custom that we observe as Shabbos Shira. With that, I want to wish you all a good Shabbos.